Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Talia Dostal. I'm the Education Director here at the Bateman Horn Center, and I am joined by Linda Milne, Emergency Preparedness Specialist. If you haven't watched our first video, Linda gave us some great strategies for staying healthy with the coronavirus. In this second video, Linda's going to be talking to us a little bit more about sheltering in place.
Thanks, Talia. I'm very happy to be here to talk to one of my favorite audiences, and that is people like me who have ME/CFS, or perhaps some other underlying illness, or maybe you're a family member of someone who is suffering with this situation. Our first segment, as Talia mentioned, was about the coronavirus. And the purpose of that segment was to provide you with strategies that could help you keep that virus outside your home and workplace, and keep you and your family healthy. I do a lot of public speaking on emergency preparedness and disaster response strategies. And one of those strategies is how to shelter in place or shelter at home. And I'm going to frame this with our present situation, which is battling the coronavirus. But sheltering at home has other purposes as well that are kind of outside our purview for this particular topic. When it comes to staying healthy in an unhealthy environment, a practical action to take is avoidance. Now, there are multiple ways to avoid and deal with that, and please refer to the first video to learn some of those strategies. But I want to talk about a precise strategy today, and that is sheltering at home as a means of avoiding a public health crisis. Even though it's very unlikely that you or I would be asked or mandated to shelter at home or self-quarantine, you may want to talk it over now with your family as a potential strategy for keeping your family healthy. Also, home sheltering is often a strategy that people choose to do as opposed to being mandated to do it. So this is how you get started. Start noticing today what your family uses every day, what they want and need every day. And make sure you have enough on hand for 2 to 3 weeks. For example, do you have sufficient food staples and ingredients to make meals that your family actually likes?
I think that's key.
Yes, otherwise the meals you prepare might feel like rations. That won't be so good. There's nothing more deflating than having to eat food you don't like when you are not able to go out and buy other things. And also, do you have electrolyte drinks? Because you need to often replace electrolytes to stay healthy. We're talking maybe Powerade or Gatorade, or you can go on the internet and cook up a recipe of your own that gives you electrolytes. Do you have enough treats and snacks at home that you could last 2 or 3 weeks? Now, I don't know about your family, but I would feel really deprived for 2 to 3 weeks if I did not have my treats. For one thing, it's really important to boost morale, particularly with a younger family. Now, don't forget the needs of your pets. You need plenty of food, and if they use medications, you need those on hand. So consider them as you're taking this inventory of your home right now. If you really want to be prepared for even other contingencies, it might be a good time to think about stocking up on water. But then again, I hate to even mention that because I know that even water sources are low right now because people are overbuying. Do you have enough prescription medications and over-the-counter medications in your home? Now, I'd like to share with you a strategy that I've developed that has allowed me to have a good emergency stock of my prescription meds. I'm going to share it with you. I found that many insurers will allow refills maybe around the 21st day. My insurer does. So I've got a 30-day script. I refill it the minute that I can, maybe the 21st, 22nd day, something like that. That way, if I've done that for a few months, I eventually accumulate. I'm enough ahead that I've accumulated an emergency stock of the medications that are important to me. I know that you can't do this with narcotic meds and certain meds, but you can do it with many of the medications probably that your family might need.
No, another idea, if you're on a 30-day prescription, and again, if it's not a controlled substance, you could ask your doctor to do a 90-day script for you. You could even consider doing, the mail-in, where you can subscribe to the constant supply that way as well.
That's right. You've got these strategies for increasing the number of pills in your prescription, but it's getting it early.
Oh, right.
That will be the key to you getting ahead. I try to do 90 days as well, and that really helps build up an emergency supply. So all of my emergency kits, the one in my car, the one that I have pre-packed for on-foot evacuation, and in my home storage, I have meds in all those areas. And every 6 months, I pull them in and I replace them with fresh meds. Right. So that you're not in a situation where you're in an emergency and you pick it up and it's 5 or 6 years old, and it's expired and you don't have any confidence in it. Don't let that happen. Every 6 months is a good rule of thumb to check the items in emergency kits. In this case, we're talking about medications. And make sure, as you're doing this assessment of your house, preparing for maybe a 2 or 3 week self-quarantine, do you have over-the-counter items that your family needs? Do you have enough of those? What about personal hygiene items? Deodorant, soap, toothpaste, mouthwash, just things that your family normally uses on a daily basis. Think about this business. I'm going to say think 3 weeks. So that's 21 days. That's a lot of product that family goes through. So again, I'm not suggesting you go out and overbuy or hoard these items. Simply buy enough so that you're sure that if you had to self-quarantine, that you would not have to go without essentials. Now we hear a lot about 2-week periods of sheltering or self-quarantine. Now that works well if you live alone, but I don't. My brother occupies my apartment downstairs, and we house share. But some of my neighbors have large families. So I don't know about your household, but even with just another person in mind, we don't get illness at the same time. I might bring it home or he might bring it home, and even though we go to great lengths to try and not transmit it, I might have it and then he might. So if I have a week illness and then he has a week-long illness, that's 2 weeks. If I have a 2-week illness and then he has a 2-week illness, that's 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. If you have kids, then you might get the idea that 2 weeks might not exactly work for your family if you tend to have sequential outbreaks, one after the other, as something works its way through your family. So I don't know your family situation, but I tell you it's important that you take your personal circumstances into account as you start looking at sheltering in home and what that might mean. One of the things that I'll tell you, and you'll find out on your own if you do your own research, some people with coronavirus get well, test negative, and then are reinfected, then come down with it again. And at this point, we don't know if that's because they're reinfected and don't have immunity to it, or if there's some kind of a cycle that we're not familiar with yet about this illness. There's so many things we don't know yet about it. But again, I'm focusing on wanting you to be safe, secure, and not have to do without if you shelter at home. Do you have enough paper products? Toilet paper, paper towels. Do you have strong tissue? Now, I mentioned strong tissue because some tissues are very flimsy. And if you cough or sneeze into them, they've really not protected you. You've ended up with droplets from your sneeze or cough on your hand, or perhaps they've gotten airborne. So strong tissue, or another use for paper towels. They're stronger, fold them over a few times. They're really good for containing a cough or a sneeze. So anyway, my only point is check your paper products. Again, do not overbuy, do not hoard. We're talking about just an extra supply to get you through a period if you couldn't go out and shop. Now, one of the things that you want in your home are sanitizing products. So now you don't need to go out and buy a 6-pack of this or the spray. Probably just need 1 or 2 of these items. But make sure that you have that, at least that amount in your home so that you can keep your home clean and well sanitized. If you have kiddos, what would it take to keep them at home on the reservation for a couple of weeks? That's really something to think about. It's even different than summer vacation because they would be asked to stay at home or stay within your own property. That's a lot to ask kids for 2 to 3 weeks. It's a lot to ask of us, right?
Yeah.
But I know that some schools are considering teleschooling because most of the schools are using computers anyway. You might contact the school district in your area and find out, are they talking about school closures? Are they talking about schooling from home via television? Find out about these things. Now, do you have enough activities at home to keep your kids engaged?
That might be the best question of the day, right? For everyone's sanity, yeah.
Because part of what your kids do when they're home is they want to play with other people. Other kids in your home, go to their home. That kind of thing would be verboten. Because sheltering at home is sheltering at home. You are really trying to self-quarantine to protect your family. Now, what about your workplace? Now, you're here at the Bateman Horne Center. You're surrounded by medical professionals. So I'm not so much talking to you because I know there's people here who know what to do, and I'm sure are doing it. But what about where you work? Have they been talking about anyone working from home? Does your job description lend itself to doing work from home? In the event that you decided to home shelter or your family was required to do so. Another version of that, are there discussions taking place at work as to what conditions might prompt the temporary closure of your company? Now, that's not happening very much in this country, hardly at all. But in Asia, it is happening a great deal. Even in Italy and in Iran, those are 2 other countries that are dealing with pretty difficult outbreaks. Workplace closures are one of the strategies to avoid transmission and to try to contain the spread of the virus. So with infections starting to show up in America because we're now testing, you're going to see the number of infections go up on a daily basis. It is going to prompt conversations about the business world. So I want you to start thinking about how this might affect you and your family if those who work in your home are asked to work from home or to stay home because the company is closing temporarily.
So Linda, what would that then mean for my finances, if that's the case? What if that was my company that, had shut down temporarily or whatnot? How can I prepare financially?
Okay, that's such a personal topic, but I'm going to hit on it anyway.
Okay.
It may seem a little out of place for me to talk about such a personal topic, but I feel that I must. Some countries, if a company were to close and the public health required that it be closed, wages would be paid. That's not so true in America. You may have to use sick days, you may have to use vacation days, or it may represent a temporary total interruption of your flow of income into your accounts. Now, let's think about that for a minute. So I'm going to just assume the worst, that your family does not have a flow of income that you count on for a period of 2 to 3 weeks. Now, the bills keep coming in. They're not going to stop for 2 or 3 weeks. Believe me, you're still going to get those invoices in the mail, or you're going to get auto deductions out of your accounts. Now, if you don't have money coming in, what's going to happen? Do you have a buffer in your payment account? Do you have 2 or 3 weeks of extra money in there in case you're one of those people who will have an interrupted pay line? Is there enough money in your checking account to keep up with your bills and keep you current? Or if not, can you transfer from a source of savings into your checking account? Now, for some families, the answer to both of those things is no, you do not have a buffer, and no, you do not have extra savings that you can transfer in. I understand that is a very real possibility. So with that in mind, my next question is, do you have the kind of relationship with your bank manager, your credit union manager, the loan officers there, that you could call and get a temporary loan to see you through this particular time of pay interruption? Now, the key thing that I want to tell you that you could do now, you could work on now, if your answer was no, I don't have that kind of relationship. Could you get that kind of relationship? One of the things I've noticed in disasters of all kinds is that recovery is very dependent upon warm relationships. Relationships with your neighbors, relationship with responders, relationship with trained volunteers, relationship with your financial institutions. These are all key to making let's say, a more convenient recovery from an emergency or a disastrous situation that could be happening in your community. In this case, the coronavirus. Let this be an opportunity for me to encourage you to start building warm relationships if you feel you don't have them. Build them with your neighbors. Build them with your bank manager or credit union manager.
And I think we're in a pretty good position right now. You know, our country is pretty advanced in the medical interventions that can be done. And I think we're in a good situation right now, correct me if I'm wrong, where we still have time to prepare, right? So
Yes.
a lot of our topics from the healthy strategies and our sheltering in place truly is just bringing awareness and preparedness. We have this time frame right now, and hopefully we never have to go into a situation where we do have to financially and environmentally hunker down. But now is the time to start considering those things, because whether it be the coronavirus, whether it be a mass flu outbreak, whether it be a natural disaster even, things happen. And
Yes.
it is kind of outside of our control, but the things we can't control are just preparing now. We have that window of opportunity.
We do, and I think you've summarized it excellently. We do have time right now. That's one reason that we are doing this video, is because we know you have time to learn new strategies, to talk with your family, to talk with your employer, to look at your finances, to look at whether you're prepared with food and product. You have time to make these things happen. I bring them to your attention because maybe you've never even thought of the possibility. So that's kind of my job, is to bring things to people's attention that they might not be thinking of. I'd like to end this particular topic on a note of optimism. And I want to emphasize there's no need for fear. Our country is so blessed with the best healthcare knowledge on the planet, and healthcare workers that know what we need to do and that are diligent in sharing this information. We can get information from the World Health Organization, the CDC, National Institutes of Health. We can go on our state public health sites, our county and city and community websites, and get the information we need to stay safe and healthy. Don't fall into that trap of becoming so anxious that you're helping make yourself sick. Don't do that. There's no need for that kind of a response. Remember, preparation calms anxiety. It's one of the reasons that I prepare, because I don't like stress. I don't like to be behind the 8 ball. I like to be in front of it. And I would like for you to be as well. Don't get caught up in preparation frenzy. Pick up what you need for those 2 or 3 weeks of potential home sheltering. Then when the crisis is over, maybe you'll think about doing more in-depth preparation. When there's lots of things on the shelves, when the prices are, itching their way down again. I thank you very much for watching. It's my pleasure to be able to talk to you. And I hope maybe because we share in common an illness that affects our immunity and our basic health levels, that we can approach this in a way that is real for us and our situation. Keep following the educational programs that the Bateman Horne Center presents to you. They're a marvelous source of awareness. I want you to know that over a period of time, there's going to be other emergency prepare topics that we're going to be able to share with you. And I hope that you will look in on those as well. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.